Hello, hello, hello. Um, so basically, I decided to make this channel in the hopes of helping other people that may have um, experienced depression or, in my case, PTSD, childhood trauma, things of that nature. And really, this is just a video. This channel is going to be dedicated to talking about those experiences. It's going to be dedicated about how to deal with those experiences, things that I've done to help me deal with these experiences, such as being prescribed ssris, talking to a licensed therapist, seeing a psychologist. Um, I've taken 7 ketamine treatments, and I also have video of my most recent ketamine treatment that I'll be uploading shortly once I get that edited. This is a serious problem right now for a lot of people. I know um, researchers researchers have came out just recently, just this year, and I think it's like it's like a 16% spike or something in um, depression and just people not feeling okay, um, with their life. There's a lot going on with the restrictions, the lockdowns. 2020 was a big giant just slap in the face to a lot of people. I have a 14-year-old son. He hasn't been in school, but maybe a month of in-person schooling. And I can imagine what all the kids must be going through that are having to stay home, not being able to socialize with other kids. Like those are the developmental stages in a child's life. That's where you really learn the most about how you're going to be around other people. Like there's so much negative consequences to all these government lockdowns that people aren't talking about. Yes, it's awful, these small businesses shutting down and people not working. And you also got to take into account what's that doing to people's mental states. Somebody that goes to work every day, like I was, providing for their family. And I'm not saying that the reason why I've developed, I shouldn't say I developed it. I've had this my entire life. I felt this way my entire life since I can remember. But in early June, it got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. I physically, mentally just had a break, and it resulted in me not being able to work. And I'm still unable to go to work right now. And this is December, middle of December. Christmas is, you know, Friday. So it's a long go. It's a hard road. But that's why I wanted to make this channel. That's why I wanted to bring this to people's attention, because this is something that we need to be talking about more. There's not enough conversation going on about mental illness and mental health. And the reason why I say that is when you hear someone say that they have mental illness or mental health issues, I know personally I did. I would just, that the person's crazy. I can't relate to that person. But now that I'm going through it and I've had that experience, there's many different layers and facets to mental illness issues. It's not just you're crazy or you're not. There's a lot of things that go on in your upbringing, a child's upbringing. And I think for the most part we're all just trying to heal from things that happened to us as kids in our childhoods. I personally believe that 100%. There's nothing you there are people that are still working out issues that happened to them as children. And we just, as a society, we do not talk about this enough. And I know with the lockdowns, the government lockdowns and the shutdowns has had everybody inside, like child abuses went up. There was actually more overdoses. Somewhere I read recently, there was more overdose cases than there were COVID deaths in this particular area, and yet they were still shut down. And that's mind blowing to me because not really, as a society, we don't talk about these things enough and as often as we need to be talking about them. We talk about mass shooters at schools and stuff like that. There's a reason behind that. If we had the ability to address and understand that when they were young, then maybe some of this could be prevented. So a lot of this is preventable. A lot of this, it's like, I don't want to compare it to cancer, but the earlier you can treat it, diagnose it, and get help for it, the better off that person's going to be and a society as a whole is going to be. There's too many. I think it's 1 in 6 people suffer from some sort of mental illness, mental health issue. And I believe it's 1 in 16. It's a serious issue. So think about that. 1 in 6 people. 1 in 6 people. And we don't talk about it. We do not talk about this conversation because it's so, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody. There are people that do talk about it, but there's not enough information. I feel like the biggest problem is there's not enough information. I've been on YouTube. I've searched around. I've found some people that's talked about their experiences, talked about what it feels like to go through depression. Like I said, I suffer with PTSD, depression, anxiety, agoraphobia, which is new, recent since all this. And it's a lot. It's a lot for a person when you think you're normal and all of a sudden you're trapped. It feels like you're trapped in this pit of despair, this pit of hopelessness, and there's no way out. There's no ladder. There's no one there handing you a rope. It's just you in your mind. It's a really bad place to be, and I never understood that before. Unfortunately, I experienced it. Before, when people would say they was depressed, or I didn't really know how to talk to that about them or address it with them because it was an emotional experience that I'd never dealt with. Most of the time when someone, let's say someone's family member gets hurt or passes away, you can empathize with that person because you've either known someone whose family member has died or someone close to you has died, and so you can empathize with that person. for the most part, when someone tells you they're depressed, you don't really know how to empathize with them unless you've been depressed before and know what that feels like, or have had someone close to you go through depression and have to do these things. And so you don't um you don't know how to talk to these people. There's these common things you say, like, I'm sorry, you should talk to someone. They should, but you know what? Insurance companies do not cover most people that you can talk to. So my whole goal is to bring enough awareness to mental illness. One in six people, right? One in six people. So how come insurance doesn't cover therapy? Why is it not as common to go see a therapist, a licensed therapist, as it is to go get your teeth cleaned? Why is that any different? Sure, physiologically, like, from a biological standpoint, the brain and the teeth are different, but I'm saying the concept is we should have as many, or not, if not more, resources for the person dealing with the mental illness, the depression, the PTSD, especially our soldiers coming home with these problems. We should have more resources for that issue than we have for dental hygiene, right? So when I was a kid, they would come to school, they would give you toothbrushes and teach you how to brush your teeth. And so what did you get if you were having trouble at home? You got a school counselor, right? There was a school counselor that you went and talked to if you was having problems. But you're a kid. You're not going to go to that school counselor. You're not going to talk to you. And they never teach you what to talk about. There's no real conversations. We need to be teaching our kids early and often throughout school. And this should be in the health and wellness class, or a class on its own. This should be something that we are discussing with our kids at an early age, so that they have a better understanding about it as they mature and go through things in their life. So when things do happen, they understand there's a need to reach out to someone and deal with it instead of bottling up. I am 37 years old. I've had a lot of horrible things happen to me in my life. And we'll discuss that moving forward as this channel takes off and I see how it does and everything. But I just wanted to bring I want to bring awareness to the situation, and we have got to change the stigma. When someone says they're depressed, or when you hear someone say they have mental issues or a mental health problem, you, like I did, I can't speak for everyone, but I'm sure there's a majority of people who just automatically assume that person's crazy, or something's off with them. They're wired wrong. That's not the case. So I just wanted to jump on here, introduce myself, um, talk about the channel for a little bit, and what I'll be discussing on here moving forward. If you're open to conversation, if you feel like this is something that maybe you need to hear, or someone else in your family needs to hear, please reach out to them. And I think I'm gonna do a pretty good job of laying out some of these instances, some of these treatments, um, some of the things I've done, such as ketamine, why I think some tools are better than other tools, and we'll we'll see how it goes and see what information people are hungry for, because there is a need in our country to help combat the stigma that is associated with mental illness, mental health disorders, and issues. And it's got to start somewhere. I'm not a podcaster. I'm a certified welder. I've been welding for 10 years now. Most of my work has been factory work. Um, so this is not something that I'm used to. I just had an overwhelming feeling that this is something that needs to be discussed in our society. This should be just as important as the election, stimulus packages and checks. This no one like there's no journalism going on, and I'm not discrediting the ones that do focus on this issue, and I'm not trying to downplay um, that, but it just seems to me that in our society we should have more of an open conversation about these issues than we do right now. And so that's my whole goal for this channel. I hope you all decide to follow along and be a part of this with me. And I want to hear you guys' story as well. And maybe that's how we can start relating to one another. And, you know, let's work this out. We have the power. We can change this together. We can make it to where insurances cover these therapists that are so important in people's lives, just to have someone to vent to, talk to, share their history of trauma. I was robbed at gunpoint when I was about 16 years old. I was walking home. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was walking home. Um, I had no business being out, but I had left home early, at an early age. When I was 15, I'd moved out. So um, I was just, you know, I was working, and I was just, you know, living as a 15, 16-year-old kid would, doing things they shouldn't be doing. And I was intoxicated, and these two guys pulled up. It was cold outside. It had just started raining. It was fall. I have on a short sleeve shirt, and I've got these silver chains on, just fake little mall silver chains. Not really of any value to anyone but me, because I liked them. These, I guess they saw me, just a guy walking down the street, 2 o'clock in the morning, young, pulled up, asked me if I needed a ride. It's cold. I was trusting of them. I said, sure. I got in the car. It was a two-door car, a little maroon hatchback car. They asked me where I was going. I told them. We pulled up to the next street. Black guy in the driver's seat, white guy in the passenger seat. He stopped in the middle of the road. He made a right-hand turn. He stopped in the middle of the road and said, get this MFer out of my car. At that point, the white guy in the passenger seat turned around, stuck a gun to my chest. Told me, give me everything you got. Empty your pockets. And I'm 16 years old. I'm drunk. I remember it like it was yesterday now, but I had forgot about that. I had forgotten that I was robbed at gunpoint at 16 years old. Slipped my mind. Completely forgot about it. That's how much I've been through personally. I've been through so much that was no longer even having an impact on my life. For most people, that would be a very big deal. That may be the most traumatic thing that ever happened to them. And to me, I just forgot about it. Oh well, water off my back. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, and there's a lot more stories like that. Unfortunately, I wish there weren't. But with that being said, we will be having interviews with my ketamineologist. That's what I call her. Her name is Amy. She runs a facility where she does ketamine treatments. And like I said, I videotaped my most recent treatment so we could have some visual. And I'll talk about it as I show that. And also, I've talked to my therapist about maybe doing an interview, and he said he was fine with that too. So we'll be able to talk with my ketamineologist, as I like to call her, um, and my therapist, and we'll ask him some questions, some common questions, some maybe not so common questions, and we'll see where this channel goes. But for me, it's more about getting the awareness out and breaking this stigma so that you don't wait until you're 37 years old or 40 years old or 20 years old before you reach out to someone and then aren't labeled as crazy or there's something wrong with that person. There is something wrong, but not the way the general public means it. Um, so with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell because it's going to be an interesting journey, and I'm happy to see where it leads. Right now, I'm just on the path. This is just something that's been heavy on my heart and on my mind the last several weeks, and so I didn't know where to start, so I decided to jump in, head, and see what happens. So stay tuned. Again, if you know anybody dealing with depression, any type of mental issue, and you feel like this information may be helpful to them, to you, to a friend or family member, please send them by. Um, and if you're having questions about harming yourself or others, please reach out to someone. There's numbers you can call and just talk to someone, and I'll try to get all that stuff together so that you guys can have that information and share it with your friends, or if you know someone dealing with that, you can help them out a little bit. So this is it. This is my first video. Um, we'll see you guys again. I hope you guys let everyone know what's going on. And stick around. It's going to get interesting. We're going to get deep. That's why this is Mental Deep Dive on YouTube. I'm also on Parler, Mental Deep Dive, and Twitter at Mental Deep Dive. So we'll be discussing a lot of these issues and problems as they arise. But for right now, that's it. Thank you for watching the video. I hope it's not too long. This is kind of just an introductory video. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.